Lael, help me out, please.
Edath waved to Lael, who was teaching basic strategies to the new members of their group. Since Lael arrived, they managed to rescue 18 people. Most of them were rescued from the merge tank. Others were alienated from the society, and one of them joined them because he felt like it was his faith to join a rebellious group. Although Lael wasn't sure about his state of mind, Edath approved him. The youngest and recent in their group was now a 14-year-old girl who was found in the merch tank, and the oldest was an ex-inmate aged 53 that also was from Lael's country.
Just a sec!
Second is enough for me to be killed. Hurry the fuck up.
An impatient Edath tapped her foot and crossed her arms. Lael sighed and apologized to his 6 students he was talking to.
What do you need from me?
Lael cleaned the sweat out of his forehead as he reached Edath. It was extremely warm that day. Edath smirked.
Oh baby, don't ask me like that. But seriously now, what do you think about Sarah? Is she strong-willed like you thought she was, back when you rescued her from the tank?
Yes, she is quite strong-willed for a 14-year-old. Plus, she reminds me a bit of you. Dark past that made her disgusted with the way of living but had to adapt nonetheless. So I'm pretty sure she can easily carry on her mission.
How do you think she can help? Fighting?
Edath glanced at Sarah, who was sitting on the floor, looking at Nael and the others fighting.
Nah, her body doesn't seem very fit to fight now. Maybe decoy?
I guess she'd be a good decoy. Yes, but don't be deceived by her small and angelic appearance. Nael explained that when he was training her, she had quite good reflexes. So, she might work as bait or even some stealth missions like we might have to do soon.
Alright, that's good. What about Urian?
Well, he's a dumb fuck.
Urian had a strong physique despite his short height.
So, I don't think we can have him on the front line. Maybe we can put him fighting from a distance, like Simon does.
As I thought so. We already have them more or less distributed, and we're all working very hard and well. I think we can make it, even if we're still just 22 right now.
Yup. It's all thanks to our leader.
Lael smiled and tousled Edath's hair. She smacked his hand and straightened her hair, looking upset by his gesture, but smiling because of his words.
Leaders are useless without their followers. I already told you.
She looked at her students, practicing target shooting with knives.
And let me tell you, if we continue like this, I won't have any doubts we can rule this place and give the right direction to it. And finally, start living for real.
I believe so too.
Lael stretched his back.
Well, we need to switch things up now. Aruna was finally able to speak more than 3 words and mentioned she knew some of the hideouts where merchants bring their victims. And Miguel, the guy from my country, said he could help us with some basic survival tools that we can create and have around in case someone captures us.
Alright, I'll call Nael and his punching bags, and you can tell Simon and his guinea pigs to gather around.
Sure. And don't forget to call your slaves either.
I don't know what you're talking about, Blondie. But if you're eager to be my slave, it will be a pleasure.
She smirked and shook her hair, walking away. Lael laughed and shook his head too, doing what he was assigned.
So, they used underground hideouts to keep some of the merch. Is that it?
Yes, they have a lot of them actually, because tanks usually attract much attention.
She said, curled like a ball and unsteady eyes that were warily peering down. She was around her 30s and was severely abused physically.
Makes sense. Usually the only person who knows about those hideouts is the merchant themselves, or with a bit of trust, another merchant who is helping. They leave some of the rotten merch in the tanks in case someone thinks about breaking in, but keep the important one in those underground hideouts.
Miguel spoke up, lighting up a cigarette.
Yeah, it sure makes sense. Were you put in one of those hideouts?
I just once. It was the first time I got captured. It was 10 years ago, and they thought I'd be a valuable merch, but...
That's good!
Lael glanced at Patroklos, the 17-year-old boy who rejected violence and any form of fighting, though he agreed that sometimes it was needed to fight fire with fire.
We just need to know the exact location and...
But...
She gulped and carved her nails in her legs as she was still embracing them.
But there's a problem. I can't remember where it was since they blindfolded me when I was in there.
Patroklos sighed with hopelessness.
Well, that's alright. We just need to study them a bit. In the end, we might even catch 2 birds with 1 stone and find 2 hideouts or so.
Let's not dream too much, okay? Besides, it isn't like you to motivate people, so please stop, it's creepy.
She made a disgusted face, which didn't take too long since his disappointed face made her chuckle.
Anyway, we should have 3 people who aren't marked anymore to investigate the area.
I can do it.
Miguel raised his hand after a cigarette puff. After this, Lael and Alethea raised their hands as well.
Alright, I guess we have a team of investigators now. For the backup, Nael, Simon, and Sandra. Can you do it?
The 3 of them nodded and said yes. Edath smiled.
We count on you then. I'm gonna take care of the rest of you while they're gone.
A day off, I see.
It's a day off for me, since I haven't bailed from my missions for years, but not for you. You'll be my training.
When people knew they had to work hard, usually they'd start sighing out loud, roll their eyes, and think to themselves how bored and tired they already were. But not them, Lael noticed. They clenched their fists and nodded strongly with motivation in their eyes. They knew their lives and dreams depended on that. So they all were giving their very best. All that suffering was for a bigger and successful outcome. They were all positive that they would make it if they kept trying. So far the results were better than expected, even if it was at a slow pace.
Yes! We're going to do it!
You are smiling at who, retard?
Edath asked, with a curious expression after seeing Lael's motivation and hope reflected on his face. He smiled more.
At the future.